Good morning, colleagues. Welcome to the 69th Annual Convention Opening Ceremonies of the Philippine Society of Pathologists, Incorporated. I am Dr. Sierra Roma Hernandez, your MC for this event. We will have the invocation followed by the singing of the Philippine National Anthem, PMA hymn, and PSP hymn.
Dear God, thank you for the opportunity to meet together. Please help us to come together to make this institution reflect your kingdom. Breathe life into our ideas and decisions. Help us build a team that has love and respect at its heart. Give us the strength to continue working for your kingdom in this time of pandemic. Lord, come give us the inspiration to be the best we can be. May we be a shining example of your goodness and truth within, wherever we are. Inspire our thoughts, discussions, and ideas, and continue to remind us that all that we do here today, all that we accomplish, is for the pursuit of truth for the greater glory of you. We ask these things in your name. Amen.
Puso ko'y tinig ng kasayahan, dahil ako'y nasama sa tanan. Ang lahat may gintong nasa, makisig at masigla. Kapisanan ay tunay ang damdamin, suliranin itong baya'y pawiin. Idalangin natin ang tapat sa may kapal, ay lunas sa lahat. Awit ng DNA, tayo ay mag-iwan. Magtulungan, magunlad ng bayan. Ang kailangan, ibigay sa kanan, kalusugan at kasaganaan. Ang puso ko'y tigib ng kasayahan, dahil ako'y nasama sa tanan. Ang lahat may gintong nasa, makisig at masigla. Kapisanan ay tunay ang damdamin, suliranin itong bayan pamilin. Idalangin natin ang tapat sa may kapal, may lunas sa lahat. Idalangin natin ang tapat sa may kapal, may lunas sa lahat.
We're specialist pathologists, lamplight of all specialties. We give the clear, the truthful seal, guiding all God's hands to heal. We arrive beneath PSP, we care for all within our fold, sure in all our feelings blending, binding hearts to always hold. God bless our very own PSP, bless each one of us, we pray. To be alone may be so precious, yet it's made not to belong. It's our word that makes it final, casting dark of doubts away. Microscopes and analyzers makes us see beyond the ray. Some may ask what this could be true. We say that it's what we're trained to do. Searching answers to the mysteries in man's blood and troubled flesh. God bless our very own PSP, bless each one of us, we pray. To be alone may be so precious, yet it's made not to belong. We doctors' diagnosis, help the sick and ease of pain. In labs that patients seldom see, we work with confidentiality. PSPO, our new society, we sing our sweet song for you. Your legacy lives on forever, sure as sunrise follows dawn. God bless our very own PSP, bless each one of us, we pray. To be alone may be so precious, yet it's made not to belong.
To give the welcome address is the overall chair of the 69th Annual Convention, Dr. Bernadette R. Espiritu.
Welcome. Firstly, I would like to wish you and your family my personal best for your health and safety, particularly in these difficult times. It is my great pleasure to welcome you all to the first ever Philippine Society of Pathologists 69th Annual Convention. We are very grateful to the Board of Governors and the organizing committee for the tremendous support they provided to make this virtual convention a reality. I would like to make mention also to the many initiatives that have been contributed by our members to put together a very engaging program. We are fortunate to have the support of a great cadre of sponsors, whom I hope you will get to meet during this conference. That's why I encourage you to visit our virtual booths. To all of them, we are very grateful. As we all know, the dreaded virus is still within our midst, and COVID-19 is causing tragic loss of lives. And the measures needed to fight it is not yet enough. Yet, we are still here, staying scientifically relevant, and at the same time, learning new developments to alleviate ours and other people's lives. This is the main objective of our convention, to learn new things and get updated on what is happening around us and see what the future holds for the practice of pathology. But we have to remember that this too shall pass. We will get through this. How well and quickly we get through it depends on us acting now and acting together. I sincerely hope you will enjoy this virtual convention and discover new topics where you'll be interested in the 4 days that we have prepared for you. Thank you, my dear colleagues, for your participation.
Thank you, Dr. Espiritu. To formally open the 69th Annual Convention, may we hear from the President of the Philippine Society of Pathologists, Dr. Roberto D. Padua Jr.
Good morning. Welcome everyone to this year's 69th Philippine Society of Pathologists Annual Convention with the theme Charging the Future of the Practice of Pathology and Laboratory Medicine. For the past years, our convention is the most anticipated event of the year for the members of our society. As pathologists gather in one place, face to face, for the furtherance of the practice of pathology and to celebrate life with our colleagues. Unfortunately, the COVID-19 pandemic came, which greatly affected our way of life, and we missed this special annual event last year. In this second quarter of 2021, though we are in the worst state of the pandemic, it cannot stop us from holding our annual activity. Today and in the next 3 days, we will have our first ever virtual annual convention. We prepared a program that you will truly enjoy. We have invited international and local speakers that will expound on our topics that we prepared for this 4-day event. With this, as your president, I now declare the Philippine Society of Pathologists Virtual 69th Annual Convention formally open.
Thank you, Dr. Padua. To introduce our keynote speaker, may we call on former PSP President, Dr. Januario D. Veloso.
Good morning. Thank you for the introduction. It is my privilege to introduce our keynote speaker. By now, our keynote speaker is well known to us, having been at the forefront of the current pandemic situation. You may remember him as the first official recipient of the COVID-19 vaccine in our country. He is also my med school classmate and fraternity brother in the Phi Kappa Mu. But more on our friendship later. Dr. Gerardo Dizon Legaspi, or better known as GAP, is a biology graduate of the University of the Philippines in Diliman. Despite the rigors of being captain of the university varsity track and field team, he graduated with cum laude honors in 1983. We both made it to the UP College of Medicine and finished in 1987. And he went on to do his neurosurgery residency at the PGH, graduating in 1993 as the chief resident. As a neurosurgeon, he was able to practice his craft in major private hospitals in Manila, as well as in three other government hospitals, including the Philippine General Hospital. He has been involved in academic neurosurgery, being the first Filipino neurosurgeon to have lectured in the Harvard Medical System in 2004. He's often invited to international meetings to talk about aneurysm, cerebrovascular surgery, awake surgery, skull base surgery, and of course his trademark keyhole craniotomy. Professionally, he has served as the longest serving president of the Academy of Filipino Neurosurgeons for 3 years from 2010 to 2012, and also became president of the ASEAN Neurosurgery Society in 2012 to 2013. Gap's career eventually gravitated to working at the PGH. In January 1, 2016, Gap started his term as director. By now, he is the first three-term director. Through his term, he has made PGH among the best equipped. That includes upgrading the laboratory and one of the better-looking hospitals in the country. PGH income also rose to unprecedented heights when it finally hit the 1 billion peso mark in PhilHealth reimbursement in 2018. But of course, the biggest challenge that came his way is, as director, is the COVID pandemic. Making a seemingly counterintuitive and unpopular decision, PGH took the role of a COVID referral center at the start of the crisis. The delicate balance of constant calibration of COVID and non-COVID operations was a daily, ever-changing challenge. However, with the eventual support of the UP community, private organizations and government, Gap led PGH to be always on top of the ball game. He has never shirked from this challenge, and he continues to do so now. While keeping one eye on COVID, the other is looking at the horizon, strategizing the next steps out of this crisis and onto greater heights for PGH. Truly, for PGH, God answers prayers, or GAP. As I mentioned earlier, Gap is a close friend, being both a classmate and fraternity brother. And I've known him for over 40 years. He is a multifaceted person, musically inclined, and playing the guitar, flute, and sax. And if I might add, I asked him to play the sax at my wedding. He enjoys biking, including big bikes, although that is somewhat paradoxical for someone who operates on traumatic brain surgeries. He's quite the family man too. Now with 3 grown-up kids, with his lovely wife, the former Ana Recto, and now the youngest, a former UP Pep Squad member, is now a medical student at the UP. As a person, Gap, despite a privileged upbringing, has managed to remain rooted and committed to serve the less fortunate. His humanity and empathy always shows in his deeds, and indeed has been an inspiration for many. Lately, he has been in the news a lot, for good things, of course. I will not mention the bad things. And so much so, to my consternation, my son, Gap's godson, asked me when I was gonna be as famous as his Tito Gap. Ay, buti na lang lamang ako konti sa kapugihan. Sorry, Gap. But I better stop here, as my intro may be longer than his address. So let's all welcome Direct Gap Legazpi. Not only has he made PGH a better place, he has made PGH sexy and glamorous again. Thank you very much.
Good morning. It is my distinct pleasure to be with you here today in your 69th annual convention, and I'd like to thank Dr. Roberto Padua, your president, and Dr. Bernadette Espiritu, your overall chair, for this honor of being invited here. Being with the pathologists this morning, brings me back to this we call it joke that we had in those days when we were more politically incorrect as neurosurgeons, wherein the descriptions of different doctors was given, and the internist was described as someone who knew everything but did nothing. The surgeon was described as someone who knew nothing but did everything. And the pathologist was described as someone who knew everything, did everything, but a day too late. I will not even venture anymore on the psychiatrist's definition, because as PGH director, I think I have tried to be more political through the years. But suffice it to say that, of course, it has been a long time since then, and definitely the pathologist has evolved from that definition. And it brings me back to the year 1999, when I first attended an international meeting in Boston, the Congress of Neurosurgery. It was at the turn of the millennium meeting, wherein the different specialties related to the neurosciences presented. And of course, being central to a lot of the things that we do as neurosurgeons. One of them was a neuropathologist that discussed the future of neuropathology, and she was Catherine Dumas-Duport, and she discussed treatment of neoplasms and the neuropathologic future in this treatment. And she entitled her talk, "The End of the Beginning." I guess it was all about jumping onto the next phase of pathology at that time. And we all know her to be a pioneer of sorts in a lot of the studies on glioma, espousing on the role of stereotactic biopsy to define its borders, on the use of intraoperative smears to help the neurosurgeons in its excision, to the use of neuroradiologic features in combining them to come up with the proper diagnosis for the tumors that she would see. Of course, she named some of the some new tumors then. I think DNET was one of them. And I think one of the most impressive discussion I heard from her was the molecular basis for the classification of gliomas. It has been more than 20 years since then, and I'm happy to note that some of this, if not all of them, are already happening here in our country, and that is already yourselves charging into the future. It has been a long time since we've heard the voice of Dr. Benjamin Canlas, but I remember the pathologist's role then, without the benefit of an MRI or a CT scan or an ultrasound, give the final verdict on what transpired in the patient's stay in the hospital. But again, of course, a day too late, because the patient was dead already by the time, and nothing could be done much for him. But it provided us a basis for everything that we are doing now. And lest we forget, I think the contributions of those came ahead of us makes us giants, because we're standing on their shoulders. But of course, I'm not here to talk about the pathologist as a specialty, because I'm a neurosurgeon, and I was invited really here for my role as the director of the Philippine Hospital and its conversion into a COVID referral center. We probably can learn some of the principles that we were able to retrospectively understand in navigating through the challenges of being a COVID referral center during the height of the pandemic. We are now on our 13th month as a center, and I think it doesn't get any easier given all the challenges that have emerged through the days. But looking back to what we've done, I think we are now quite more confident and certain on some of the ways that we have established. And I'd like to go back and learn from those ways and use, and if you allow me, use the article written by Ms. Risa Mantaring, who was one of the better known managers, CEO during her time. And her achievement of running all 6 marathons, the 6-star races during the latter part of her career. And the worst of those marathons was the Boston Marathon of 2018 because of the very severe weather conditions. It was cold, it was raining, it was something that did not make for a good running condition. But through all of that, she went through the challenges, and after that, she transposed her experience into some management strategies. And reading her article brought me back to what we've done in the past 13 months, and I realized that those are principles probably that you learn in school, but having no master's degree in hospital administration, one of the big lessons that we learned here is that how to run things on the fly or adjusting to the challenges as they happen every day. So let me just go through those basic management principles that she discussed. And the first one is that when your purpose is clear, you're most likely to succeed. In the Boston Marathon of 2018, there were 30,000 runners who were hopeful of finishing their one of the best runs in careers, with 4,000 of them not being able to do so, including some of the really front runners considered to be favored to win the marathon. Ms. Mantaring simplified her goal. Her only purpose was to finish the race, and I think she did just that. For the COVID Referral Center, we of course had to define our purpose. During the discussions with the Department of Health, when we were assigned to be one of the centers, it was made clear that the COVID referral centers will receive only COVID positive patients through coordinated transfers. We will not be seeing probables or suspects, which at that time overwhelmed all hospitals. The emergency room will remain open, but only for limb and life-threatening conditions, maybe imminent deliveries and stroke and trauma, and that we will have to be augmented both funding-wise and manpower-wise. And given all of this, we set our commitment to 130 beds, but during the preparation of PGH, we decided to ramp it up to 240, expecting something like this to happen that we're experiencing now. So it was important to know what a purpose was, and it was also important to articulate this so that people will understand, and hopefully they buy into the plan. And they did. I think that memorable letter that I wrote as a clarion call to our constituents, not only in PGH, but the whole of UP, sort of managed to soften the ill feelings that were coming out at the start of the announcement. So I think the messaging of the purpose will also set you on the right foot, so that you'll be able to carry out the plans with everyone buying into those plans. We augmented those messaging with our daily, almost daily information and reminders and protocol release through our information and educational committee headed by Dr. Berberabe, which is one of the most active committees that we've had in sharing the purpose of why PGH became a COVID referral center. So it became clear after a few discussions. We held town hall meetings, we had meetings with the different sectors of the hospital, and hopefully even with that though, we still had to do follow-up information campaign just to be sure that everyone got the message. Once the purpose was clear, we set out to do what we needed to do. And I think one of the things that we have to set our minds into, um, so that we'll be able to manage all possible situations, that conditions are really perfect. And Risa Mantaring said that we have to learn to adjust. And in her case, she decided to take it slow from the start rather than running her own usual pace, because she knew the conditions were not good, and she did just that, and she finished the race. For our COVID operations, we didn't have a playbook. We didn't have a, no one knew what a pandemic protocol was, or no one knew how to run the different isolation wards. And so we just had to keep in adjusting and keep rolling out plans as the events unfolded. No one had any experience, and I think situations change so rapidly that people had a difficult time catching up with the new orders from my office. The protocols change because the conditions change a lot. Our infection control unit, even DOH, sometimes gave confusing information, and we had this favorite line already that we adopted, so that to avoid any further confusion, we always told ourselves, if there's something new that came out, let it brew first, let it take its course and see how it unfolds, how it becomes useful to us during our operations. In trying to remedy an imperfect situation, we had to do a lot of adjustments in PGH. There's no negative pressure chamber in PGH. We had to convert our wards just to ensure proper ventilation, and we consulted top-notch architects and engineers to help us plan out a series of fan systems that allowed a unidirectional flow of naturally ventilated air. So the air exchange was deemed enough to make the virus less transmitted among the between the patients and the healthcare workers themselves. And I think the very low documented patient to health personnel transmission was proof to this. Of course, that's aside from the wearing of the PPEs. We also had to adapt manpower-wise by instituting the personal reduction scheme. Only 50% came to work on every other week schedule. We had task sharing scheme. I think you know that our pathologists and dermatologists man the COVID wards also. And of course, we had to change, modify our organizational setup, because there's a non-COVID part still of the hospital that was running, and the COVID operations that was very active at that time. So it was running like running two hospitals, and getting the right people to do that was, of course, key to that. We adjusted to situations by making backdoor deals with suppliers of PPEs, of equipment, and sometimes, because of our ability to raise funds from private donations, we were able to skirt around the procurement law of the country. So after you've made some adjustments, I think in ensuring that the goals are met, the third principle that was mentioned in that article is to make sure that you are equipped. Ms. Mantaring bought a very expensive Gore-Tex jacket for running, and it turned out to be the best decision she's made for that trip, because it kept her warm, kept her dry, and it kept her going on. For the COVID operations, of course, taking care of patients with COVID and everything that is attendant to that costs a lot of money. Our war chest was something to be envious of, because we were able to raise almost 1 billion pesos through the months that ensued, from private donations, from government, additional government funding, and we had to use our own savings also just to tide us over and complete that war chest to make us able to continuously give service to patients who needed it. We set our PPE stocking to a month at least before we open a COVID ward. And you can imagine how much money we had to put out when the original price of the PPE up to now also is around 200 pesos. It came to us as 1,500 per piece of the coverall at certain time. I think in early April and early May. So the amount of expense was staggering, but of course we had to make sure that we had this, and we're glad that all the interventions that we did allowed us to do this. We also had to decide on which equipment to concentrate on, and I think the betting on the need for more high flow nasal cannulas than respirators did us a lot of good, because aside from being able to serve more patients because they cost less than a respirator, I think the fact that the team was able to prevent more patients from getting intubated was also a big step towards understanding this disease. And what we lacked in the respirator, we outsourced to a company that had more than enough stocks for us to use whenever we needed them. I think one of the turning points in the COVID operations was the establishment of the molecular lab. We were equipped well by a private group, and the collaboration of Dr. Bill Veloso and Dr. Michelle Diwa brought forth a big change in the way we manage our patients. We were able to diagnose them earlier. We were able to discharge them earlier, and it provided us a compass for navigating through the course of the illness and eventually managing them properly. So we early on, we had a BD Max that allowed us to get the results in 3 hours, which was really a big advantage for PGH at that time, because we were able to do surgeries and deliveries with more confidence compared to waiting for the result at a later time. So the equipment that we have gotten for PGH is a complete line, and I think one of the more important innovations that probably we can do really is to have established our own electronic medical records. So it was something that we needed a long time, but because of the urgent need during the pandemic and the operations of the COVID ward, we were able to bring that forth. And up to now, it's being used not only by the COVID ward, but by the whole hospital. And I'd like to thank Dr. Omer Koh for that. We are fortunate to have been provided for with this support, and I think this is a key to really being able to elevate the standards of care as well, both for private and charity patients in the hospital. The other principle that I think we probably will have to remember also is that in the organizations that we work on, sometimes the stars are not always the best ones for the job. In the Boston Marathon, the runners did not make it to the top finishers, maybe because the conditions were not right for them. And for our COVID operations as well, I think this is a fortunate turn of events for us, because we were able to gather a crisis team that was composed of senior surgeons that had already had their ways set for them, quite influential in society, get up and go guys, not afraid to break rules, but still, they listen to the wisdom of Dr. Nina Verba, who's head of our hospital infection control unit. So none of the surgeons that run the COVID crisis committee will move without the go signal of our hospital infection control unit. So this is what the kind of dynamic interaction that we had. Although we all had roles to play, we waited for each other's signal and read them so that we can all do things in consonance to the goals that we have. At this point, please allow me also to thank these people, the major coordinators of the team, Dr. Boko Campo, who ran operations for us, Dr. Rodney Dofitas, who took care of the manpower concerns, and Dr. Dennis Serrano, who took care of logistics. We simplified the definition of their jobs, and I told Dr. Serrano that anything that did not move, he took care of it, and anything that moved, Dr. Rodney Dofitas took care of it. We also had to, adapt to the personalities of the people that work with us, and realize also that it's better to have a star team than a team of stars. These stars actually collide with each other. So the human part, or the personnel involved in the operations, of course, play an equally important role in all of this. The last management principle probably that was mentioned there also was in the difficult times that we traverse these challenges, I think focusing outwards help us to do better. And in the race, the winner of the women's category, Denise Linden, actually almost didn't finish because she wanted to give up in the end. But she saw her friend having a difficult time, and she actually ran back to her to coax her to continue. And eventually she did, and they both did, and she won the race. So we did just that in PGH after establishing the fort, the fortifying PGH solidly with all its resources. I think we realized that this war really was not fought in the hospitals. The COVID war was fought in the community. So the hospitals just merely take care of the wounded, and realizing that, we started reaching out to our community. We helped Mayor Moreno, Isko Moreno, establish his quarantine facilities, and we started in Del Pan. We helped the COVID Referral Center of Manila, Santa Ana Hospital, by providing resources like PPE and sharing manpower personnel with them, with nurses and doctors as well. We, knowing that our UP constituents will also come to Manila, to PGH for their COVID problems, we fortified the UP Health Service in Diliman by providing them with protocols, with PPEs also, and medications needed to handle patients that were appropriate for their unit. I think the regular issuing of policies on testing, on treatment, or protocols that we discovered to be useful, and sharing it with the public also was one way of looking outward from our operations and helping out each other, because in helping out each others, we also help ourselves. So this very complex interplay of events that has transpired in the last 13 months has forced us to do all of this. And I think looking back and learning from them is one of the best ways to treat an experience as difficult as this, to learn and to be able to use those lessons to move forward, to charge into the future. I think is the best revenge we can have on this virus. So at this point, let me also take this opportunity to take a few minutes to pay tribute to one of our graduates and one of our staff, former staff, Dr. Joey Avila, who has passed on, and commemorate all the contributions he's had, not only to pathology, but to research, and of course the practice of excellence that he has given us in whatever he did. May we remember him fondly for what he has done and what he represents. In closing, let me just wish you all to be safe and healthy. And as you charge into the future of your specialty, let me part with this saying, one of my favorite saying from Charles Ecalion: the difficult we do immediately, the impossible will take a little time. Thank you very much, and good morning to everyone.
The plaque of appreciation is given to our keynote speaker, Dr. Gerardo Gap D. Legaspi. The plaque reads, "The Philippine Society of Pathologists, Inc. presents this plaque of appreciation to Dr. Gerardo Gap D. Legaspi as keynote speaker on the occasion of its 69th annual convention given this 23rd day of April 2021. Signed, Dr. Bernadette Espiritu, Overall Chair, 69th Annual Convention, Dr. Roberto Padua Jr., President, and yours truly, the Secretary. Thank you, Dr. Gerardo Gap D. Legaspi. Next is the presentation of the new diplomates and awarding of their specialty board certificates and certificates of membership. The Chair of the Board of Pathology, Dr. Nelson T. Heraldino, will present the diplomates in a while I'll read the board certificate. The Board of Pathology of the Philippine Society of Pathologists, Inc. hereby testifies that doctor's name has completed the prescribed training period in an accredited residency training hospital, has complied with all other requirements of the society, and is conferred the status of diplomate, qualified and competent in the practice of anatomic and/or clinical pathology, for which purpose this certificate is awarded. Done on this 23rd day of April 2021. Signed, the Board of Pathology.
Good morning. The new diplomates in anatomic and clinical pathology are the following: Dr. Hyacinth Joy Valderrama, Dr. Nina Natalia Bautista, Dr. Iris Jan Bernadas, Dr. Nico Paulo Cablao, Dr. Angelica Maris Caindec, Dr. Francia Victoria de los Reyes, Dr. Joseph Michael Espiritu, Dr. Aldin Legaspi, Dr. Christine May Olivar, Dr. Karim Pido, Dr. Oliver Pintor, Dr. Marvin John Pua, Dr. Jose Inigo Rimulya, Dr. Cheryl Ronas, Dr. Jessica Nicole Sabido, Dr. Marisa Criselda Santos, Dr. Andrea Villaruel, Dr. Karasharil Young, Dr. Eric Martin Iturralde, Dr. Lester Floyd Zamora. The new diplomates in anatomic pathology are the following: Dr. Anna Jane Bontia, Dr. Joseph Antoine Chato, Dr. Greg Ryan Herongano, Dr. Ivy Carol Vique, Dr. Mark Jason Ordenes. The new diplomates in clinical pathology are the following: Dr. Dino Rafael Abadiano, Dr. Noli Glenn Alonso, Dr. Angeli Grace Alvarez Danao, Dr. Christine Amada, Dr. Carmel Therese Apao, Dr. Suzette Angeli Babagay, Dr. Uziel Jeanette Bascao, Dr. Miguel Francisco Cajite, Dr. Ivan Adrian de Guzman, Dr. Brendalyn Gallego, Dr. Jeremiah Slayson, Dr. Onyx Lim, Dr. Alessandra Camille Malyari, Dr. Terence Manuel, Dr. Hester Pagdanganan Tan, Dr. Mary Rose Pastrana, Dr. C. Philip Theomar Radin, Dr. Angel Reyes, Dr. Justine Saavedra, Dr. Christian Roy Sarmiento, Dr. Alain Sumera, Dr. Raimundo Supenya, Dr. Talitha Jenna Tuso Sarino, Dr. Kimi Valentin.
Congratulations, new diplomates. To award the certificates of membership is Dr. Miriam D. Viterbo as the chair of the Committee on Membership. Dr. Viterbo?
Good morning. The certificate of membership reads, the Philippine Society of Pathologists herewith certifies to Dr. Name of Pathologist, has knowledge and experience in medical and scientific work, and has demonstrated his or her proficiency to the satisfaction of the society, and reposing full confidence in his or her honor and integrity. Therefore, on this 23rd day of April 2021, grants the certificate of qualifications as regular member in anatomic and clinical pathology in accordance with the Constitution and bylaws of the Society. Signed, Board of Governors. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Viterbo. Our president will now administer the oath of membership.
Today, you're going to take the oath for the new diplomate. Please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name. Having been admitted as a diplomate member of the society. Do hereby solemnly swear. That I shall faithfully discharge to the best of my ability. The duties and obligations of a member. Uphold the bylaws of the society. Abide by the code of ethics of pathology. And dedicate myself to the service of the society. The medical profession. And the community. So help me God. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I now present to you our new diplomate members. Again, congratulations.
Ladies and gentlemen, our new regular members. We now move to the presentation of the new fellows and awarding of their certificates of membership. The certificates of membership to the new fellows is awarded by the chair of Membership Committee, Dr. Miriam Viterbo.
For our new fellows in anatomic and clinical pathology, Dr. Francis F. De Matera, Dr. Joanne Marie R. Pascual. And for our new fellows in anatomic pathology, Arlene Bonnie B. Asanyon, Dr. Heriberto B. Fornoles, Dr. Ricardo Victorio S. Kimbo, Dr. Christian Dominic M. Rosales. And for our new fellows in clinical pathology, Dr. Rose Lou Marie C. Agbay, Dr. Johari M. Ancheta, Dr. Ria L. Dilo, Dr. Cesar Valentino N. Sepe, Dr. Frederick F. Dalingding, Dr. Lourdes Trinidad M. Dominguez, Dr. Jefferson B. Mendoza, Dr. Ruby O. Rusha Uy, and Dr. Reza Michelle Manangan Wong. So these are our new fellows. Congratulations to our new fellows. The certificate of membership reads, the Philippine Society of Pathologists Incorporated herewith certifies to Doctor, name of pathologist, has knowledge and experience in medical and scientific work, and has demonstrated his or her proficiency to the satisfaction of the society, and reposing full confidence in his or her honor and integrity. Therefore, on this 23rd day of April 2021, grants this certificate of qualifications as fellow member in anatomic and/or clinical pathology in accordance with the Constitution and bylaws of the Society. Signed, Board of Governors. Let us now welcome the new fellows.
Congratulations, new fellows. Thank you, Dr. Viterbo. Our president will now administer the oath of membership.
Today, you're going to take the oath for the new diplomate. Please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name. Having been admitted as a diplomate member of the society. Do hereby solemnly swear. That I shall faithfully discharge to the best of my ability. The duties and obligations of a member. Uphold the bylaws of the society. Abide by the code of ethics of pathology. And dedicate myself to the service of the society. The medical profession. And the community. So help me God. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I now present to you our new diplomate members. Again, congratulations.
Ladies and gentlemen, our new fellow members. Now, we give recognition to the members of the Board of Pathology. Dr. Nelson Heraldino, the Chair of Board of Pathology, is also currently the Chair of the Department of Laboratories of the Philippine General Hospital. A former President of the Philippine Society of Pathologists for 2 years, 2006 to 2008. He is a subspecialist in clinical chemistry and microbiology. Next is Dr. Rohelda Bongat, the BOP Secretary. She is an Associate Professor and Vice Chairman for Academic Affairs of the Department of Pathology and Clinical Laboratory Service of the Far Eastern University Dr. Nicanor Reyes Medical Foundation. She is the Senior Consultant of FEU NRMF Medical Center and holds a master's degree in Health Professions Education from UPNPTC HP. She is a fellow in anatomic and clinical pathology. Next, the member, Dr. Peter Aznar, is professor and chairman of the Department of Pathology in Southwestern University FINMA School of Medicine and Dean of the Southwestern University FINMA Cebu City. He holds a master's in Health Professions Education from Paymar Hill University in United Kingdom. Completed his residency training in APCP and UP-PGH. Next, Dr. Sheldon Stephen Aquino is currently the chairman of the Department of Laboratories, Region 1 Medical Center in Dagupan City, Pangasinan. He teaches pathology at the Lyceum Northwestern University and Virgen Milagrosa University, both in Pangasinan. Dr. Jocelyn Rueda Ku is an anatomic and clinical pathologist, currently the clinical pathologist of the Central Laboratory at UERMM Hospital and a full professor at the UERMMC College of Medicine and its graduate school. She holds master's degrees in public health and another in hospital administration at the UP College of Public Health. She has a PhD in education administration in UP Diliman. She was a former Board of Pathology examiner in 1997. Dr. Rueda Ku is a fellow anatomic and clinical pathologist. Dr. Arnel G. Bayotas, an anatomic and clinical pathologist, currently the assistant professor at the Our Lady of Fatima University College of Medicine, also a graduate of College of Medicine in the same institution. He had his residency training at the East Avenue Medical Center. He holds masters in education and masters in hospital administration. Hospital affiliations are Valenzuela Medical Center, Angeles University Hospital, and Quezon City Memorial Hospital. He is a fellow in anatomic and clinical pathology. Thank you, our dear BOP. Let's give them a warm round of applause. Now, may we recognize the regional chapter presidents. Dr. Aloysius P. Llanes, President, Northern Luzon Chapter. Dr. Maria Teresa T. Enrile, President, Central Luzon Chapter. Dr. Azeus O. Silva, President, Southern Luzon Chapter. Dr. Heriberto B. Fornoles, President, Bicol Chapter. Dr. Kathrina C. Perez, President, Central Visayas Chapter. Dr. Hans Francis D. Ferraris, President, Western Visayas Chapter. Dr. Chonilo O. Ruiz, President, Northern Mindanao Chapter. Dr. Noemia D. Bartolome, President, Southern Mindanao Chapter. Dr. Al-Zamzam Abubakar, President, Southwestern Mindanao Chapter. Thank you to our regional chapter presidents. Let's give them a warm round of applause. Lastly, we give recognition to the Board of Governors, beginning with the executive officers. Dr. Roberto D. Padua, our President. Dr. Maria Socorro C. Yanez, Vice President. Dr. Sierra Roma Hernandez, Secretary. Dr. Kalangitan R. Gutierrez, Treasurer. Dr. Bernadette R. Espiritu, immediate past president and the overall chair for the 69th Annual Convention. And for the Board of Governors, Dr. Alan T. Coa, Dr. Modesty A. Liaño, Board of Governors, Dr. Francis G. Moria, Board of Governors, Dr. Herbert G. Pascual, Board of Governors, Dr. Miriam D. Viterbo, Board of Governors, Dr. Jocelyn Myra Caja, Board of Governors, and Assistant Treasurer. Dr. Rowan T. Yolo, Board of Governors.